at Nkoni Luengo district. The Kabaka, who also advised government to solve all land wrangles legally rather than abolish Milo land tenure system, had this to say.
The Kabaka of Buganda, Ronald Mutebi, has marked his 28th coronation day at an event held at Nkoni Palace in Luengo district. The celebration started with a prayer session with different preachers appreciating the Kabaka for the developments in Uganda since he was enthroned in 1993. During the celebrations, the Katikiro of Uganda, Charles Peter Maiga, briefed the celebrants on Milo land tenure in Uganda. Kabaka Ronald Mutebi extended his sympathies to the families which have been affected by COVID-19 and appreciated efforts by universities for the medicines aimed at curbing the virus.
Saba government okwongera ku mutemwa gw'ensimbi okuyamba banna science kibasobozese okunoonyereza n'okuvumbula eddagala erinaalwanyisa obulwadde buno.
His Majesty also reminded central government to fulfill the pledge of returning the remaining Buganda properties.
Ebintu Buganda ebyagijjibwako omuli enfuga eya federal, ettaka, ebizimbe omuli Bulange n'embiri z'abassekabaka baffe abaagenda.
He advised government to look for other means of solving land wrangles other than abolishing the Milo land tenure.
Tetujja kukoowa n'omulundi n'ogumu okujjukiza gavumenti yaffe nti okufaanana nako n'ebitundu ebirala bya Uganda, obwakabaka bwa Buganda bulina ebintu byabyo ebitasaana kuteekebwako bukwakulizo.
The celebrations were attended by few invited guests due to the COVID-19 restrictions and was celebrated under the theme Culture and Norms, Source of Development.
Now, Buganda has this Saturday marked 28 years of continuous leadership of the Kabaka Ronald Mutebi, the second as the sovereign of Buganda. Buganda Kingdom is Uganda's biggest kingdom in Uganda with about 8 million people and 52 clans. The former Katikiro of Buganda, Daniel Mulika, chronicles events leading to the 1993 Kabaka Ronald Muwende's coronation and other major events in Buganda. Let's take a look.
The Kabaka of Buganda, His Royal Highness Ronald Mutebi II, has held his 28th Coronation Day anniversary celebrations at his Voodoo County Palace at Nkoni, Luengo District. Mutebi was enthroned on 28th of July 1993 after the National Resistance Movement government, led by President Yoweri Museveni, restored monarchies across the country. The former Katikiro Daniel Mulika says Buganda Kingdom faced the wrath of political anarchy between 1966 and 1993.
It was a very big, crowd, whatever, in everything, drums, dancing, and everything. Everybody was happy.
He says at the time, political leaders abolished kingdoms until they were restored by the NRM government in 1993.
President Museveni and Buganda had fought a war to restore democracy back to Uganda. So Buganda was part of it. Buganda is an area which wants everybody, whether you were an Ateso, a Kalamajongo, whatever you are, to come and be happy, enjoy. And one thing is, for us, we don't want to grab someone's property.
Buganda is built on 52 clans, and each of these clans has some level of responsibility towards the Kabaka and the kingdom.
I sympathize to see poor people begging on the streets of Kampala. Just what we need is to organize the Kalamajong. We develop and tap the resources. They'll bring in more money. And even they could support Uganda financially if you develop them.
Former Katikiro Dan Mulika says people have stood by their king despite the challenges the country is going through, mainly COVID-19.
It's a token Media, you have come to help to make it public. No. Although people are feeling bad for not being physically participating.
Sada Mubale, Andrew Sebira, UBC News, Kampala.
Now, relatedly, Kampala Archdiocese has joined Buganda Kingdom in marking the 28th coronation anniversary of the Kabaka of Buganda, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II. The Apostolic Administrator, Kampala Archdiocese, Paul Semogerere, applauded the Kabaka for his endeavors to boost socio-economic development of the region and the church in particular.
Kampala Archdiocese Apostolic Administrator Bishop Paul Semogerere has commended the Kabaka for uniting Ugandans, especially those in the central region.
The Kabaka of Uganda, Edward Muwenda Mutebi, upon the completion of his 28th year as the King of Uganda. We'd like to thank God for the gift of the Kabaka, for his good life that he has had, for the inspirations that he has given to Buganda in particular, but also in Uganda as general.
Bishop Semogerere was celebrating the Kabaka's 28th coronation anniversary in Holy Mass attended by a few clergy members and celebrated scientifically in strict observance of SOPs. Bishop Semogerere congratulated Kabaka Muwenda Mutebi II upon his 28th coronation and thanked him for working hard to improve Ugandans' health status.
The inspirations that he has given to Buganda in particular, but also in Uganda as general, for founding different associations that are focused to the development of the people of Buganda and the progress of his kingdom.
Bishop Semogerere also hailed the king for his calmness and a friendly relationship with the church and the central government.
I'd like to thank him for his gentleness. The Kabaka has been so calm in guiding us and making sure that we have got good relationships between the central government and the Kingdom of Uganda.
On such occasions, initially, many would be seen clad in Chiganda attire, like kanzu tunics and women in gomeses. But in this particular mass, it's only Nakaseke Central MP Alan Mayanja Sebunya that was fully dressed in a kanzu. Sebunya wants places of worship reopened. Despite the president's directive, the churches reopen after 60 days.
It is a great day. It is a great day upon of Kabaka's coronation day. At the years of 28th, but we leaders, we are very, very unfortunate. The president to come up with 60 days on closure of the churches. Human rights fighters, you have to come up. We have to come up and we defend our churches, our mosques, because they are this is the very institution which can keep standard operating procedures.
Ivan Juko.
Furthermore, shopping malls and arcades downtown Kampala have been warned not to reopen without the certificate of compliance despite the president's easing of the lockdown Friday evening. Now, the Minister for Kampala Metropolitan Affairs, Hajat Minsa Kabanda, says that malls and arcades must be approved by KCCA authorities after putting in place standard operating procedures. Now, this means that the reopening of shopping malls and arcades in Kampala commonly might be delayed until all SOPs are adhered to.
After 42 days of lockdown, Kampala streets have once again been lively. But for those operating businesses in downtown Kampala might have to wait for some time as Kampala Capital City Authority and arcade owners put in place measures aimed at curbing COVID-19.
Chikubo will only open when a compliance certificate has been issued. So I call upon you, my brothers and sisters who operate in downtown. And when we mention of Chikubo, we are not meaning Chikubo, but we are saying all the business centers in Chikubo, including Nabugabo Road, Luumu Street, Beni Chiwanka, those malls around the Mukwano Mall, and other roads which I'm also learning, can only operate when we satisfy ourselves by all the SOPs and the compliance levels put in place.
Accordingly, those who may reopen before putting in place these measures face arrest over failure to comply.
So on the 2nd, that is Monday, please don't come to Chikubo. I don't want those temptations with our enforcement team. We shall come back here and inform you when everything will be ready. But nevertheless, it will not take more than 5 days, if and only if we cooperate.
While easing the lockdown on Friday, President Yoweri Museveni instructed KCCA ministers and officials to ensure compliance to SOPs.
So as a mother, as a leader, I think we should be cautioned to all our neighbors. You talk to your neighbor, why don't you put on a mask? Why don't you comply to this? Why don't you wash your hands? Because we always see people. As we are moving, you tell someone to put on a mask. It's as if it's a crime. So let's all comply with what they are telling us. Like my colleague has said, we don't intend to beat people. We don't intend to make you suffer. But if you don't comply, then the police will be forced to do what it's not supposed to do.
Public transport is one of the sectors allowed to operate, but with strict adherence to SOPs at bus terminals and taxis before starting to operate on Monday.
All associations of public transport operators, including the bus associations, tax associations, the border associations, and those inland water transport, as well as management of terminals, parks, landing sites, and railway stations, to foster self-regulation and to ensure strict adherence to these standard operating procedures and the directives of His Excellency the President by your members.
The Minister for ICT, Dr. Chris Baryomusi, while addressing the media with his counterparts at Uganda Media Center, appealed to the public to comply with the new directives to avoid further spread of COVID-19.
All of us to take all these measures in good faith. They are intended to ensure that all of us live to see tomorrow. And we also want to say, let us do self-policing. Don't wait for security people, for the RCC to deploy security to alert you to put on a mask. Let's know that putting on a mask is a duty. Whether somebody is seeing me or not, I have a responsibility to wear this mask when I am in public. And many other measures as we know them.
Philip Aguta, UBC News in Kampala.
Now, taking you on location, Kampala Central Business District has this Saturday registered a big turn after President Yoweri Museveni partially eased the lockdown Friday evening. Most business owners swamped shopping malls and Chikubo Business Center to buy merchandise, ostensibly to replenish their businesses. Let's take a look.
During his Friday evening address, President Yoweri Museveni partially eased the 42-day lockdown, with a number of sectors allowed to operate, but with strict observance to standard operating procedures. Kampala Central Business District was for the most of the day a beehive of activity, with most roads that enter the city busier than has been the case in the last 42 days. Boda riders were among the happiest over the easing of the 42-day lockdown.
In the city, yesterday, I clapped my hand and my wife said, "What are you doing?" I said that I'm just very happy about how this thing is happened to me. Because these 42 days, it was like, I don't know, this fighting like you're fighting with the Golola.
Musanyufu nnyo nga omukulembeze atandika okwogera ku ssaawa 2 naye nga nze nira kimu kalimu akange mu butuufu nzira ku mini price sidda ku mini price.
Naye muzeeyi bwe yagambye nti nababodaboda tudde tutika omuntu era ne wano ndeesewo omuntu ne ndaba nga obulamu bwange bulinganga ekimera ekifukiriddwa amazzi oba ekifunye enkuba.
Being the first day of the partial reopening, most shops, business premises are yet to open, but the city is beaming with anxious people.
Naye twali tuzze okukola president yatugambye okukola ne tujja lukedde tuzze tukole naye ab'oluguudo batulemesezza. Batugamba bagenda kuggulawo Lwakubiri.
Bwe yayogedde eggulo ku Lwokutaano ekiro abantu tebaali bakkiriza kujja wano mu kikuubo leero ku Lwomukaaga ne ku Sande. Yali badde abagamba nti mujje ku Mande nga bamaze okweteekateeka bamaze okukola ebintu ebirungi.
Naye nga embeera okusinziira we tubadde tugisuubira tennaba kubeera nkyamufu okusinziira nga ekibadde mabega nekibadde tusuubira okubeerawo olwaleero.
Kale olwaleero tulwesonyiye ennaku nga 2 katubawe chance naffe twagala kirungi nti abaguzi baffe bali badduka lwa kkubo nti muntu bw'ofubutuka okuva wali okujja wano oba Kampala Road wali oba mu kyalo.
However, according to Ashwin Kiran, a businessman in Kampala, the 7 p.m. curfew may not be practical and requests the government for an extension up to at least 9 p.m.
I think all the measures he took are quite wise, except my only concern is that opening up the public transport and private vehicles on the roads. The 7 o'clock curfew starting time might not serve the purpose, because there will be a lot of traffic jams. People will leave offices early, and so there will be a lot of traffic jams, and people might not be able to make it. So I think had he made it to something like 9 o'clock, that would have been more practical and more realistic.
This being the first day of the partial reopening of the lockdown, most businesses, to be specific here in downtown Kampala, have remained closed, but with the reasonable number of people turning up in the city. Saddam Mubale, Joel Vubia, UBC News, Kampala.
Now, more in our news tonight. Government has received 586,080 doses of vaccines from China and Norway and 100 oxygen cylinders from UNICEF. The vaccines were received by the Ministry of Health Minister, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, at the Uganda National Medical Stores in Entebbe.
Government has received 300,000 doses of Sinovac vaccines from China and over 286,000 AstraZeneca doses donated by the Norwegian government. UNICEF representative to Uganda, Dr. Munir, also donated 100 oxygen cylinders plus an assortment of PPEs. The Minister for Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, received the vaccines at a ceremony held at the National Medical Stores in Entebbe. Dr. Acheng appealed for more support as the country heightens its campaign against COVID-19.
In a special way, allow me to thank our friends from the Norwegian government and from the Chinese government who have come in timely to support our vaccination program. I want to put forward more requests to our partners who support us to procure vaccines, but at a reasonable cost, not at exorbitant prices that is unaffordable.
She said government is expected to vaccinate at least 22 million Ugandans.
That yesterday His Excellency said we must also consider children 12 to 18 years. And he directed that we quantify that population group and add to the 22 million people. The only way we can all return back to what seems to be normal life is after vaccination and observance of the standard operating procedures. So the standard operating procedures will not go away. Even when we are vaccinated, we'll still have to close our mouth and our nose
To bring pandemic under control requires unity, solidarity. Government of Uganda has handled the pandemic very well. But we recognize now the challenging situation Uganda is currently facing, a second wave of COVID pandemic and a second lockdown.
The UNICEF country representative promised to donate another 600 oxygen cylinders to Uganda by the end of next week.
With this amount of 100 oxygen cylinders delivered today to NMS, we have completed 600 cylinders. Next week, we will have one shipment of 600 oxygen cylinders delivered to NMS.
On 5th of March this year, Uganda received the first batch of 864,000 vaccines from the World Health Organization. On 8th March, the second batch of 100,000 doses from India, and on 17th June, 175,200 doses of AstraZeneca from France. Government targets to vaccinate 22 million people, but so far, only 1.5 million people have been vaccinated.
The Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Judith Nabakova, has directed Joseph Lutalo Bosa of Mubende district to halt his plans of reclaiming and evicting the occupants of a contested 150-acre land in the district. Nabakova, who spent the entire day in Mubende district interacting with eviction victims, also directed Bosa to avail land titles for those who have already made payments to him. These are the details.
Mubende is one of the largest districts in Uganda, sitting on over 2,713 kilometers. At this meeting held in Kiterede, Bubanda sub-county, residents who are at the verge of being evicted lamented to the visiting minister.
Naye omusajja Lutalo atuliisa akakanja ne mutabani we Tone Kibazo buli lunaku nze mbale zizino mu mutwe fomu na akamala okuva ku ddwaliro atutta buli lunaku oyo Tone alina bano abantu baleeta ne Jambiya wano ne bano b'emmundu basula mu ttale ebbanga nga wiikisi bbiri.
Matia Kagwa, who is a bona fide resident of the contested land since 1940s, is left in suspense on what next.
Kitali kyokka n'abatuuze bagamba nti ye yabaguze ettaka eyo tebafunanga byapa tabibawa. Abo batone batulage wano mulimu ki gwe baali bakoleddewo ddaamu eri yabajjajjange eri awammanga oluzzi luli olw'abantu lw'abajjajjange be baalusima.
Local authorities faults the area and Kampala land officials for all the mess.
Obuzibu bwe tuyina ofisi z'eby'ettaka Kampala ne Mityana. Singa kiba kisoboka, singa ofisi z'eby'ettaka zino muzizza mu decentralization ne zikomawo ku district.
Genda ku ofisi yo gye bakuwadde ministry yo. Abafere bali awo. Abali ba sente bali awo. Abakasiya bali awo. Bekiba kisobola munoonya abalala abaki abadde mu mirimo eggwanga.
The meeting was attended by, among others, the district woman MP, the resident district commissioner, and the DPC.
Emuvuye egisinga wano twakyogeranga. Tetwakyogeranga luli nti kubanga twali mu budde bwa campaign. Nga jiviira mu bakulembeze. Eyo kudeployinga abasirikale bano nga tetutegeddeeko. Ensonga ezo zikyali under inquiry, tutagana maaso n'okunoonyereza. Tuuzaayo report ya agriculture officer. Yokka yebulayo, then submitting a file eyo w'omuwabuzi wa government.
Since I came, there has never been any eviction of anybody. I have really prevailed. I have prevailed over any possible eviction.
After receiving all these complaints, Nabakova directed local leaders and police to task Lutalo Bosa to avail land titles to all those who had already paid him.
Byo twagala awa abantu ebyapa byabwe kubanga yabajjako ensimbi bw'atabibawa abayina emisango egiyinza okumuggulwako. N'olwekyo chairman ne RDC saba mugambe mwami Bosa aleme kwebuzaabuza ebyapa by'abantu abibawe.
Minister Judith Nabakova wrapped up the day by directing the area police commander to ensure no one is evicted, since these matters are still in courts of law.
Naye as of now status quo esigale kubanga kooti tennasalawo buli omu akole kyakola paka kooti lwerikola ki lwerisalawo. Ebyo bosa byajja ng'akyali mu kooti okujja n'atema ebintu by'abantu n'agoba abantu n'abakola ki abikola mu bukyamu kubanga kooti tennayogera.
Robert Onyango, UBC News.
Furthermore, cases of gender-based violence and poverty levels have reportedly shot through the roof in the last 42 days of the national lockdown. Now, persons living with disabilities were some of the most affected due to the restrictions to access their workplaces. Now, this has been disclosed by the disability fraternity staying at Little Denmark shelter in Chebando. These are the details.
People living with disabilities and the elderly have been identified as some of the category that have greatly suffered during the 42-day national lockdown. Being the beneficiaries of most of the informal businesses in Kampala, they had nothing to do but rather stay home with little to survive on. Despite the challenges encountered in the 42 days lockdown, it did not deter the Executive Director to Naweza Foundation, Victoria Nalule and UN Women to at least monitor how these people are surviving. Nalule says there is need to support people living with disabilities financially to boost their businesses to improve their welfare.
We are here in Chebando, Little Denmark home, whereby we've come to empower women with disability, but then also the women with children with disability. What are we doing? We are trying to see how we can give them some little money to add on to their businesses. Most of the women, as you've been seeing here, we've been talking to one by one, are trying to understand what kind of business they are doing. Most of them, they are selling on the street. They are selling fruitsy, they are selling lemon, they are selling jinga, they are selling shoes, they are selling small bags, and so on and so forth. So the main reason why we are here is to see how we can really empower them. We promised them that after this 1 month, we want to come back again and see the little money we've given them, has it added any value to their business?
Tunaweza Foundation, with support of UN Women, empowered women with a boost of capital in their businesses to become economically empowered.
And we want to see that in them. Most of them, they're telling us they are doing charcoal. So we want to see if I was selling charcoal at 50,000 and I'm added more additional money, will I get some stable, small income for me to go to the next level during this COVID time? So that was our main purpose. Previously, we came here, our team was here, and they trained them on the gender-based violence. A project we are working with the UN Women, Uganda. So we are working closely to see that these women are empowered.
Only women have been supported. The public has been asked to respect people living with disabilities because they go through a lot, especially when it comes to issues of gender-based violence. However, the spokesperson of the disabled living in Little Denmark, Onyo Moses, explains how they have suffered in the past 42 days.
These people who are here, they may die of anger because they used to get their support from the street. But as I talk now, for this 42 plus day, these people have been suffering a lot. There is no food, there is no medical attention, even the water are not there. So they used to go for a shallow well, which is near Bukoto. But as they are disabled people, they can't access that water because many people get congested of that water. So they are now buying each jerrycan of the water at 1,000. They're paying the one who is supposed to carry 500, then a jerrycan 500. So I'm cautioning you, you need to help these people, at least to aid them, because even most of them miss the government money, and there is no way now for them to survive.
Tunaweza Foundation also donated assorted items to Mapera Kateyamba home in Nalukolongo to support them in their daily life. The administrators welcomed the gesture by Tunaweza Foundation and explained how they have been affected by the 42 days lockdown.
We are limited with some funds to run the home. We have cattle here, a big number which we would like to take to transfer to Mukono farm. But still, we are still challenged of funds to take them.
For now, we need at least 15 million to prepare the place. Otherwise, we can't maintain them here.
Uganda School for the Physically Handicapped were also beneficiaries of the Tunaweza Foundation and UN Women. The disadvantaged are now optimistic that opening up the country and following the SOPs, there will be improvement in their welfare. Sudat Kaye reporting.
May God bless you, Tunaweza Foundation, especially reaching out to more people and raising the hopes of the people with disabilities. Now, in other news, Prime Minister of Uganda, Robina Nabanja, and the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi, have scooped blessings from the ghetto youth in Lira City. After receiving COVID-19 relief funds, the youth commended government for this time considering them as part of the vulnerable citizens. They say that life in the ghetto had become so difficult as a result of the lockdown, and most members, especially the young ones, had gone without food for days now. However, youths of B13 Ghetto, West Coast in Lira City, have used part of the money to boost their tree nursery business. And these are the details.
When Uganda was hit by the second wave of COVID-19, a lockdown was imposed to contain further spread of the disease. Vulnerable groups were promised 100,000 to push them through the lockdown. Several groups have since received the funds, including the Ghetto Youth of Lira City, whose members received funds up to the 40th day of the lockdown.
And also we bought just some food, we collected the money just as one people. Then we shared so that all other people, even those who have not benefited also had to get something out of it. Indeed, we appreciate the government for that program.
Then secondly, that money also I use with to buy some food for these people. And others, we are teaching them well.
Martin Nodur, the chairperson for Lao Ghetto Youth, underscored the need for rehabilitation and resettlement of the youth, since most of them left their homes forcefully while others are born and raised in the ghettos.
In the whole ghetto system, we have around 72 ladies. Because in total, the total number of ghettos in Lira, there are 1,100, yes. And we have 45 ghetto arrangements.
Gloria Apio is one of the members of the B13 Tier Lock Ghetto who has to beg for help every time the call of nature demands so. She said she left home because her parents could not pay her school fees. However, Gloria and colleagues still believe they can resume studies when supported to realize their dreams. Meanwhile, at the ghettos, the elderly are charged with the responsibilities of looking after the young ones. They used part of COVID-19 relieved fund to buy polythene bags for potting their seedlings.
Because
you come up, you also come to support us. You buy these things of ours that we are producing, not only buying for those people who are somehow even better off. Because we realize most of the things that are taken are even some of the people who are somehow better compared to us.
Among the seedlings being raised are mangoes, citrus, eucalyptus, teak, K-apple, among others. Ediolwa for UBC News in Lira City.
Now, private institutions in the country have continued to emphasize the need to teach sciences if this country is to become a powerhouse in science, research and technology. Many were reacting to excellence after the release of the 2020 Uganda Certificate of Education results.
For the past 20 years, government through Ministry of Education and Sports has insisted on teaching of science subjects. Schools like Wakiso Muslim in Kakiri embarked on the program and have now realized fruit, with all its 50 candidates, including 10 that primarily concentrated on science, excelling in the 2020 Uganda Certificate of Education.
But at least we have been next to what we got last year, meaning at least a lot was done by the teachers. I thank them so much for that teamwork. For the time they gave to these learners, it wasn't easy. Learners came back, we all know it clearly, when all their minds are divided. So bringing them back on board wasn't something very easy.
Mityana Modern SS in Mityana municipality is the other that excelled in the Uganda Certificate of Education, with all its 200 students passing highly, including science students and those in Kiswahili language.
Because when you force a student to go to a combination which is too hard for him, you may lose both. You may lose the money and then you will not get something what you were expecting from him. Yet when he goes for a combination which is easy for him to excel.
Like has been the case, St. Mary's High School Mukoko in Kalungu district is among the best performing in the district, with all its 20 candidates excelling, and importantly, in sciences. The release of almost all examination results by UNEB can never be complete, minus mention of Budo SS of Wakiso district. It was again amongst the best in the country, with 217 first grades of its 454 candidates, of whom 151 passed in second grade.
Tuli ba mukisa nti abaana basobodde okukola obulungi kuba embeera teyali nnyangu ya 2020. Abaana basomera mu bugubi, mwali ne covid yaffectinga bangi, naye twagala okubeebaza nti babadde nga bawuliriza bye tubagamba. Psychosocial programs zetubadde nga tubawa zibayambye nnyo. Academic programs eziri well planned and strategic, ate ne bazigoberera bulungi. Twagala okwebaza abasomesa abadde behind all the arrangement evuddemu results ezinennungi.
Hawa Nalwemba is one of the best at Budo SS, with her 8 in 8, elating not only her but also the parents.
Teachers have done their role. They gave us content. Nti mukisera we twatuukira oku breaking off mu COVID-19 breakdown yasooka. Almost most of the syllabus twali tuli kumpi zimaliriza.
Budo SS is one of those private schools in the country that, through education excellence, dispel the notion that institutions that focus much on sport don't usually excel in academics. Ginger SS also registered positive grades, headlined by 67 first grades.
To us, this is a landmark and the greatest achievement we've had for the last more than 5 years of our performance.
After a torrid time, especially because of the COVID-19 pandemic and threats from unscrupulous people, Lords made the vocational college managed to excel in the UCA examinations.
Because recently, the conmen that UNEB talks about targeted my school. They targeted our school, and they were telling us that the results will not come back. That Lord's Mid results have been withheld by UNEB. And it is me who took lead to contact UNEB and to cause the arrest of the man who was conning head teachers in the country.
In Kampala, Uganda Matters High School Lubaga passed 50% of its 100 candidates in first grade, with this causing unconfined joy amongst all stakeholders, led by head teacher Brother Nsubuge Kasozi Leonard.
We had, all in all, 50 first grades and 55 second grades. That was our number that sat the UNEB exams. And we thank all the parents who entrusted us with their students, with their kids. We thank the teachers. Amidst the COVID-19 challenges, teachers remained in touch with the students.
The situation is not different at Midland High School Kawempe, where headmaster Francis Chasa attributes success to a combination of factors.
Kwandoza nti Katonda atuyambye ne commitment y'abazadde ne y'abayizi n'abasomesa ebadde ki. Wanga bw'otunula ng'oggyeko emyaka giri emirala, guno omwaka abayizi twalina ne contact ssaawa ntono nnyo, though twasigala tubasomesa online. Naye online nzibu nnyo. Oyinza okulooza nti kwe bali basoma nga tebaliiko. Oyinza okuwaayo waako olina gamba saagiraba. So ekisinga obukulu ye physical. Ne tulowooza nti olw'okuba ssenyiga ono waali ng'ate tagenda kuggwa nkya, gavumenti yanfubye nnyo okulabika nti ekendeeza omusolo ku data.
Elite High School in Entebbe has already embarked on online teaching during this second phase of the lockdown to keep the learners updated with classroom curriculum and teaching programs.
Zoom classes are part of them. We have used webinar, we have used the YouTube classes. So we have tried different avenues to ensure that these learners continue learning.
The director of Studies at this school, Ernest Impata, says that this is exactly what helped them produce 30 first grades out of the 67 students that sat for UCE last year.
We sat with our staff and sought out means how we can continue helping our students.
Masharuka Girls Secondary School also had decent results, which called for celebrations.
Very good.
At St. Kago High School in Shema District, President Museveni's contribution to the school laboratory block is being credited for the success in science subjects.
I thank the President for this success in science performance because that laboratory has helped us to perform well.
This was the same scene witnessed at St. Charles Rwanga Kashekuru, where songs of praise dominated.
We have got 21 students in grade 1 and 75 in grade 2.
Despite the lockdown subjecting many to virtual education, results from Ombari and Sironko districts have confirmed that hard work, perseverance and adjusting to situations works perfectly.
We used to begin classes very early in the morning by 6:30. Actually, the students would arrive at 6 and they would leave at 6 in the evening. And the Saturdays were full days. We even made use of Sundays sometimes.
Factors behind this good performance, we have been trying to improve on the motivation of our teachers.
I want to thank the administration and the management plus the teachers for the hard work they did.
Now, St. Lawrence Academy Schools and Colleges' rector, Justin Tulina, has applauded the Minister of Education and Sports for her developmental efforts towards boosting the education sector at all levels. This was during the scientific celebration of their excellent 2020 Uganda Certificate of Education results.
It was all celebrations as teachers, parents and students of St. Lawrence Academy, schools and colleges officially received their 2020 UCE results. At least 85% of the candidates passed in first grade. The rector, St. Lawrence Academy Schools and College, Justin Tulina, attributes the success to efforts by the Ministry of Education and Sports, as well as teachers and students' hard work amidst COVID-19 twisting.
We are very happy with the parents and the students and the staff. We thank you very much and we appreciate you. And above all, we thank the Almighty God who took us through the COVID period and were able to perform very, very well.
The teachers were overwhelmed by the 2020 UCE students' results.
All our students have performed well and we are really glad. We give all the thanks to the Almighty God.
St. Lawrence, boys performed very well, better than girls. And so we are really very happy.
The St. Lawrence schools, we are really excited. Our children passed highly. We have no failure. We thank the Almighty Lord. We thank the parents. We thank the children.
In all, the 7 campuses, including London College, Horizon and the Academy, among others, at least 85% of the candidates passed in first grade.
St. Lawrence Schools and Colleges, Aman Obi from London College. Different pastors are not contented with the government decision to slap another 60 days lockdown on places of worship. Now, the pastor says that unlike other sectors which have been opened, the church is more organized and can handle all SOPs.
During his presidential address on COVID-19, President Yoweri Museveni announced an extension of 60 days for all places of worship in a bid to contain the spread of COVID-19. However, this extension has not been received well by some church leaders who are demanding that places of worship be opened.
Yeah, the 6th day of lockdown, there's nothing I can change. The big man spoke yesterday. I can talk and talk, I cannot reverse it, even if I pray. Only that I have to bear with the 60 days. Just 1, 2, 3, 60 days. After 60 days, I will come on. On what I need to advise the pastors is being to pray, seek the Lord, so that at the time we are opened up, we can serve. For me, I've never been closed. I use whatever I mean. I use WhatsApp, I use social media. Even for those who cannot use it, locally, my church is in Bombo. We send WhatsApp, we do Bizindalo, and make sure it's a time to care for the people, even though they are far.
While at Kololo Airstrip for National Prayer Day demanded that they be consulted as stakeholders before decisions about the church are made.
What can we do?
we cannot make a statement. We are not part of the advisory board to the president in terms of COVID and all of that. Therefore, our voices cannot be heard because we are not part of that group. And even if we were, looking at the circumstances, I think let's allow things to prevail. Maybe this is God's will, maybe. I'm not saying it is, but maybe.
Pastor Wilson Bugembe, however, note that the lockdown is justifiable and the extension will save more lives since church has already lost prominent pastors.
Yeah, 60 days of waiting. Personally, I think we have to be patient. The Bible teaches us to be patient. So we have to be patient 60 days because we also would like all pastors, I'm sure pastors want healthy sheep. So this wave that passed, we lost Pastor Kula, we lost Pastor Senfuma, we lost Pastor Tesve and other pastors. So I think it's wise to wait in a little. So let us all be patient, the pastors, the sheep. Let's be patient. Good thing, we can always talk to God in our houses.
Of lockdown for the church, I believe, in my heart, I feel what the president is doing is right. Because we cannot, I feel like we can't manage yet the congregation and the crowds. Even the Bible in the book of Ecclesiastes 7:17 tells us that don't be a fool, don't be over wicked. Why die before your time? You know, sometimes people insist and they die. People died actually during this second wave. Number of people died, pastors died, leaders, spiritual leaders died because of a carelessness. Had we paid attention and observed the SOPs, those pastors would not have been lost.
Sada Mubale, Joel Vubia, UBC News, Kampala.
Now, over 6,000 Ugandans have been treated of COVID-19 and have recovered, though a few still suffer from a few mild weaknesses. Now, one such recovered person is Irene Nakasita, who recovered from severe acute respiratory syndrome of COVID-19. However, she has been in and out of the hospital battling health-threatening conditions since her recovery. And these are the details with Abikaba.
Irene Nakasita, a mother, wife and the spokesperson of Uganda Red Cross Society, came down with COVID-19 symptoms and like many coronavirus patients, she spent weeks at the ICU. However, Nakasita's life hasn't returned to normal. Since then, she has been on and off with after effects of COVID-19.
I go to hospital and I requested them to do a PCR test. I ran the test, but I told the doctor, please enroll me on medication because I feel I have all the signs of COVID. Yeah, so in as much as I had done the test, of course, results were coming back the following day. So yeah, he put me on medication, COVID medication. I began it right away. So the following day, they sent my results on my phone and they were positive.
Nakasita spent 3 weeks in a referral hospital in Jinja after Mulago National Hospital and Entebbe Hospital had no beds for admission.
It had dawned on me that the situation wasn't really for jokes, honestly. Because after finding out that this facility is full and this one is full, now the alternative is this one, I actually cried. I cried because then I knew this is now a matter of life and death. I remember when I reached Jinja, at the ICU where they took me, I think they had just admitted somebody at the extreme end. There was a room at the extreme end and the person was coughing. Actually, that person died the following morning. Was coughing. So, and I called home and I said, I've arrived, but I broke down again. I cried again. I was like, yeah, I want to see that. They're like, Guma, because there's nothing to do.
She recalls her first days at Jinja Referral Hospital and there was no doctor to attend to her. She was suffering from respiratory problems and also needed the services of a cardiologist. Her iodine levels were very low, but she was instructed to drink salt.
But I think within the process there, I remember, I think my iodine levels also went low. And you know these big flasks that cover, that cover, the guy told me to drink salt. They told me, we are going to give you salt to drink. So I was like, salt? I'm already coughing. Yes, they get salt, put in water, and they tell you to drink. So I was like, God, I'm already coughing now. And the guy told me, you're not going to drink one. We shall add you another one.
Nakasita narrates that she will never forget the 8th of June 2021 in her life, the day she said her last prayer.
But what really, my worst day is that day my heart pulse went low. And I actually said my last prayer to the Lord because I saw myself going. It was on the 8th of June. I had been shifted now from the ICU to the private room at the ward. And I remember, I don't know whether there were illusions. I don't know. I would see my face swelling and coming back, swelling and coming back. So I began touching myself. Yeah, and I would feel a very thin layer of my skin. So I was like, I just said, no, this must be death coming. So I need to say my last prayer to the Lord. And I told God, receive my soul.
While she struggled to retain life, Nakasita says that God gave her a second chance. After regaining her conscious back, she feared sleeping again. At the back side of her mind, she thought she could die in sleep.
Now after that, of course, I feared to sleep again. I thought when I sleep, I'm going to die after what I'd experienced. So I stayed awake. I actually got a pillow put on my back and I sat like this. Now, of course, now the drips, I would get them when I'm awake like this. So until the following morning.
After 10 days on treatment at Jinja Referral Hospital, she asked to be referred back to Kampala for proper management of COVID-19 and also carry out other tests. Nakasita says that she was discharged and given a bill which she declined clearing, citing some charges were not genuine.
But on the bill, I contested. I said, no, I will not pay for doctors because I saw the bill had doctors' fees. I said, no, I've been attended to by nurses. I will not pay for doctors' services.
Now back in a private hospital to deal with side effects of COVID-19 drugs administered to her at the public hospital. She had to redo other tests since her chest never cleared fully and had to start a new medication afresh. While she talks of having overcome COVID-19, chest infection and cardio, she still faces some health challenges coupled with loss of sight and also developed diabetes.
Being in and out of hospitals now for the eyes because the sight is blurry. It's blurry but the doctor has said once the sugar levels stabilize in the body, the sight will also come back by its own. I can't read anything, I can't write because then I'll write zigzag because I am not seeing the lines.
The circle of being in and out of hospital can be blamed on anyone, but she gives glory back to God. Zahara Abigaba, UBC.
And that's a survivor's tale of COVID-19. If you needed to hear it firsthand, and there it is. Let's take a short commercial break and return with business news. Stay tuned.
Wait, Abu. And what are you doing throwing papers all over the place?
I'm looking for an invoice for a sound system and cables that I received yesterday, but I can't find it.
You know there is a way of keeping all this in one place and available to you as and when you need it.
I really wish there was one, because the way these invoices grow legs and disappear.
I believe this is what you're looking for.
Now how did it get there?
Tabo! Do you know that with EFRIS, you can stay on track of all your business transactions and improve on your record keeping?
How so?
Katituliku computer with EFRIS. I just search using the fiscal document number and I retrieve the records I'm looking for. Bookkeeping becomes simple after that.
Kapo, also me.
I began using URS Kakasa Solutions and now I'm in charge of my business. And you can as well.
Kakasa, be sure you are in charge of your business.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go. MTN.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa only if we stay at home,
Observe physical distancing. Wear masks properly. Sanitize or wash your hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
Welcome back. You're still watching the UBC News Tonight. We now take you to the world of business. Now, Busega Best Measure Steels Limited has donated an assortment of food items to vulnerable persons around Busega area in Lubaga, Kampala City. At least 1,000 vulnerable, including those with disabilities, and the elderly benefited from this donation.
Busega area vulnerable families have been aided with assorted food items that include rice, maize flour, banana, sugar, and cash, among others, to facilitate them during this COVID-19 situation.
As Measure Steel, we've given them matoke, we've given them posho, rice, beans, and the spaghetti. And this is not the first time we are doing it. Last COVID, the first wave, we gave out over 1,000 people. This second wave, we've given out over 1,000 people.
Area local leaders received the donations on behalf of their residents and appreciated the hand that gives. The beneficiaries from Busega Church Zone, Busega Central C, Nabisasiro Zone, Chigwanya Zone, all from Luraga Division in Kampala.
Nebaza omusumba Paulo Kimenye olwa kino kyatukoledde ne kampuni ya Mesa era nebaliza ddala ku lwa kino nebaza Katonda ku lwabwe.
Banyulirerere libasanyulirerere twebaza nnyo era kampuni ya Mesa n'abasumba abavuddeyo mbutuufu.
Zikeera wange abantu nga bajja balajana taata chairman tukoze tutya gowadde kyewagu ky'ettooke gowadde akawunga gowadde sukaali gowadde 10 gowadde 5 gowadde omutwalo naye nga tubadde n'okusoomozebwa abalwadde ba korona babaddewo naye nga olw'okuba embeera era abantu abanyigirizibwa ng'obulwadde bubatuukako nga tubajjanjaba mu zijanjaba esoboka era bangi bakoze eki bawonye naye nga twebaza omutima omulungi kampani ya Mesha n'abasoma mwenna abakyomyemu omutwe okulaba nga mutasobola mu bwaffe okulaba nga tuli balamu.
The function was also graced by a delegation of pastors in Busega, led by Pastor Vianney Muhweze.
To thank the Measure Steel Company Limited for the opportunity given to us and our people in the community for feeding our needy people.
The managing director, Measure Steels Limited, Lydia Mwesgwa, said they were giving back to their customers.
We've come to give back to the community of Busega and our neighbors, the vulnerable people, to tell them that we love them during even this COVID time. We've given them because these are the neighbors we have and they don't have. And we've come to be together with the government of Uganda during this COVID time to give back to our community.
The Civil Division of the High Court has set dates to deliver rulings in the omnibus cases filed by lawyer Malema Birizi and an application filed by the Legal Brains Trust lawyers. Among the cases which await the ruling include the case challenging the Cabinet's decision of installing surveillance devices in the people's vehicles, the appointment of the permanent secretaries by the President.
Earlier this week, lawyer Malema Birizi filed an omnibus application in High Court Civil Division challenging Cabinet's decision to install tracking devices in people's cars. The same case which was filed by lawyers from Legal Brains Trust challenging the same decision. Legal Brains Trust in filing this case asked court to issue a permanent injunction prohibiting any government official from implementing and acting on the strength of the Cabinet's decision until the determination of the main suit before Judge Boniface Wamala Court has set 16th August 2021 for the Attorney General and the Parliamentary Commission to file their affidavits in reply to Malema Bedizi's application. And on 10th August, the applicant Malema Bedizi will file his rejoinder.
So we need to know what will be going on in the surveillance. That must be under an act of Parliament, not mere press statements or radio talk shows. We need a reference where we shall be reading that this is it.
Malema Bedizi also filed another application challenging the appointment of permanent secretaries by the President and the President's directive seconding UPDF to take over all government procurement and construction of schools, roads and hospitals. The case, which will be heard using written submissions by all parties. Court has also set 16th August 2021 for Malema Bedizi to file rejoinders, after which court will pronounce itself on this matter on 30th September 2021.
We have disagreed with the judge because for me I wanted after written submission that we appear before him at least for 30 minutes so that we can highlight. That's what I've been doing in other places like in Bali, Supreme Court. You're right, but then you appear and people can see that actually the case was argued. But the judge is claiming that because of COVID he cannot. I was telling him you can apply the SOPs because you are saying justice must not only be done but must be seen to be done.
The Attorney General was represented by Martin Mwamtsa, Director Civil Litigations, and the Parliamentary Commission was represented by Solomon Chirunda. Judge Boniface Wamala has also said 10th September 2021 to deliver ruling in the permanent injunction application filed by Legal Brains Trust lawyers. In another development, the prominent weightlifter Julius Sechitoleko's legal team has withdrawn an application. They filed in High Court seeking for his unconditional release.
Given that it has been overtaken by events, but as you are all aware, he still has charges of conspiracy to defraud, which we shall as a team also follow up and see that we have a defense for him.
Julius Sechitoleko, who was arrested on arrival at Entebbe Airport from Japan on 23rd July 2021, was released on bond by the Criminal Investigations Department on Wednesday. Deborah Namamonde, Nantong Rebecca, UBC News.
And in the world of sports, Golola Moses has returned home after a fierce fight in Juba, southern Sudan. Golola was outclassed by James Majok in a packed arena. Golola lost his ground twice, but claims he yearns for a rematch in an organized contest.
They call it a zigzag fight. You know, they sent me an invitation to fight as a K1 champion to promote Southern Sudan and also to get some money to support Gola Talent Foundation. When I reached there, they gave me a contract of MMA. I told the man, even if you bring this Mazinaga and Chima, I will dance it. Because why? I need money. And he told me, no, this fight, we are not challenging your title. No, we just want an exhibition. And I told them it's okay. But that was an exhibition of Majok. Also me, I want to bring Majok in Uganda for an exhibition because this was like home and away. I was there home, so I want to bring him. Be ready. We are going to start making tournaments. We are going to start doing, because we have a belief that there is an opportunity to go and train physical fitness in school. Here in Uganda, we have a challenge that we don't have any institute which teaches physical education. I've been telling you that at Gola Talent Academy, we want to see how we can teach the athletes more of the sports education so that they can go and teach in schools. We want to see how we give instructors in NGOs, in camps, and everywhere, because life is about being fit. Now we have a system whereby you go in your phone and you place *210 *11 *4#. When you put in that message, it will bring you a message telling you thank you to support Gola Talent Foundation. It will ask you for the PIN code, put in the PIN code number, it will redact 1,000. That 1,000 is going to do a lot. Actually, if you people
bronze medalists at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, the two and Oscar Chelimo will return to action in the 5,000 meters heat that are scheduled for Tuesday next week. Qualification will ascend to any of the two on Friday's final. Meanwhile, Uganda's chances of winning any of the women's 800 meters have ended after failure by either Halima Nakai or Winnie Nanyondo in their semi-finals heat. Nakai finished bottom in her heat, while Nanyondo, despite getting herself a personal best, couldn't eclipse any of the top athletes. Whereas Nakai is Olympics, and at this stage, Nanyondo will take aim at the 1,500 meters. Action for Ugandans at this 32nd Olympiad continues on Sunday, with Peruth Chemtai starting us off in the women's 3,000 meters steeplechase. Yes, and that brings us to the end of our bulletin this night. We're way past our time. Allow us to say good night. My name is WADULO, Mark Arnold, Muhammad Mugalu on sign language. From the team, we must say have yourselves a lovely night.
Echa COVID-19